Hey, Julie. Can you get on now? Hmm. Um, I mean, from my end, it looks like you're good. Do you want to try restarting your computer? There you are.
Okay.
There you go.
What happened?
I don't know. Sometimes did you restart your computer? Sometimes it's just a setting in the computer gets stuck.
I did restart, but it didn't happen at first, and then it happened.
I don't know. Um, I haven't left the room, so the
No,
same
I
Zoom
know,
here.
that's never happened to me before, and I thought it might be something on your end.
No, I checked the host tools. Everything was checked. It says chat, start video, start, um, rename themselves, unmute themselves. So everything's set the same on this end. I don't know.
No idea. No idea.
So how are you?
I'm pretty good. Was I supposed to do anything besides order the book?
No,
Not really. I think
not
I'm
really.
I'm anticipating being overwhelmed, even though it hasn't happened yet.
Well, don't do that. It's really, it's not gonna, you'll be fine.
I'll be
There's,
fine. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you'll be fine.
I'm just not
Um,
like I think the fear is that technically I'm going to get, and true to my fears, it already happened. Like click, 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 unmute, start video, nothing. But anyway, yeah, I'll be fine.
yeah, we'll just, if something comes up, we'll just work through it.
All right. Yes, that's.
It's
I
fine.
told my husband that's what I like about you. That you uh, that you're very understanding. You always think, we'll take care of it. You don't get overexcited. And you know
Well,
what
thank you.
my husband said? She sounds like me.
Is that true?
Yes,
Is
and
he
it
like
is
that?
true. It is true. He, in fact, like always, his response is, either it'll take care of itself, do nothing, there's not a problem, and I'm like, this has to be handled. We've got to take care of this.
See,
Anyway,
that's funny because I'm that way with my stuff, like with Mike. I'm like, can you fix this? Like, what's going on over here? Because he's the real tech person. I mean, I'm pretty good at tech, but he's like that's what he does. Part of his livelihood is doing tech and social and security. So, but I'm that way. I'm like, can you fix this like now? It's gotta be fixed now. But with other people, I'm like chill about it.
yeah. Well, I can relate to that because in a church setting, your unanxious presence is like the best thing you can give your people.
Yeah, yeah.
So and I do trust that uh, everything ultimately turns out, but I do have a concern that I'm taking on too much, and we'll see.
Yeah. Well, and the good thing is this is a small class. So
It's
we
very
have,
small right now.
well, right now, Maria is at the pediatrician. Her daughter had a fever, so she should be here soon. Um, but yeah, it just affords us I have two people that, again, are still thinking that they're coming in this week. But still, even at four, it'll be perfect. I really only want 6 to 8 tops, but six is my goal going forward because I just want to have time to do things. Like I don't want to have to be rushing through classes and I want to have discussions and that kind of thing. So I always planned on having small groups anyway.
Yeah.
In the pilot, there was 10 people and I felt like we were so rushed. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So anywho,
Yeah. I
um, it'll be good. It'll be manageable. Um, and then I'm actually just gonna review the up coach again. Now since it's just the two of us, and I'll just go through the so you can see everything again, and then hopefully that's helpful. And then we'll
Yeah,
just get started. We're actually gonna
that sounds good.
watch, yeah. And then when Marie gets here, hopefully shortly, we're actually gonna watch a coaching session, um, observe it, and then I'm gonna go through how I score it so you guys can see what we look for from an assessor side, from a mentor side. Um, and then you can kind of see like, the things that you want to make sure that you're including in your own coaching. So, and it's a PCC level coaching session. Even though we're assessing at an ACC level, you get to see the kind of what they're looking for PCC too, in case that's the way you go.
Yeah, my sense is that the levels interplay and
Mhm.
overlap. It's not like you flip a switch and you are suddenly PCC.
Right. I mean, you grow into it. There's certain there's certain things they look for at PCC level that they don't look for at ACC level. So, but you're going to be
Right.
able to clearly see that.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So let's look at this. So this is what you should see when you log in.
Yes.
Okay. So if you scroll, so this is where you would go into the course. I'm not going to do that yet. And then down here, this is where all the recordings show up. So here is the one from class 1 is here, and every class I'll put them in here. So if you ever need to go back and watch a recording, you can just come here, hit the play button, and it'll pop up in a bigger screen and play the video.
Okay.
And that's all the classes and all the group mentoring.
How many classes are there total?
Well, there's 15 regular and 3 group. So it's 18 classes altogether. And then you have the 3 one-on-ones, which are scheduled at our convenience. You get my link and you schedule it whenever you want.
So
Um,
15 classes and 3 group mentoring sessions.
yeah. And actually I can even, let's look at the course schedule. Where did I put that? Here we go.
Yeah, I have it all.
Mhm.
I have my little church calendar and I have everything written down. I
Oh,
bought
okay.
just
Okay. Then, I didn't.
so we have our first group mentoring session next Tuesday, correct?
Yes. And that starts the 3-month period that you need to have for mentoring. So that's why I started on class 3.
Okay. And is that just a lot of questions and answers or individual back and forth, like
Oh yeah.
sharing?
Well, it's more we'll watch another coaching session for that for the first one. The other two you'll actually be coaching, but the first one we watch another demonstration. Um we talk through the core competencies. I usually focus on the first, 3 in the first one. I concentrate on the next 3 in the second one, and then the final 2 in the third one. So we break up those competencies and the minimum skill requirements that they're looking at. We really kind of look at them more deep in those mentoring classes. And then, yeah, then there's Q&A and whatever we need to make sure everything's clear about the mentoring. We talk about how to, like I'll go over how to either renew your ACC, or for Maria, how to apply for the ACC. We can even talk about PCC level stuff at that point, just so you have some knowledge and, um, information that can help you make decisions or what have you. But it's just very relaxed, chillaxed. That's what I say. It's just very relaxed and
Nice, nice.
yeah.
Uh, um, And will there be space for, like, I would love to talk about my current coaching situations and get coached on my approach that I'm using and some of the challenges that I'm facing.
Yeah, absolutely. You can, well, first of all, you can always bring up questions about that at any time, but also, um, I'll be coaching you guys throughout the course as well as you guys coaching each other. Um, and we're
Uh,
also going to have some guest people come in that you'll coach too, but when I'm coaching you, you can choose any topic. So if you want to choose topics around your coaching approach, you could do that, but you can ask questions anytime you want.
okay, great.
Yeah. Okay. So so this is the course. I'm gonna skip that for now. Here's the recordings, and it'll be for all the 15 classes and the mentor classes. All will have recordings. And then here, excuse me, I'm gonna have the coaching schedules up by next week. Your course schedules here that you can download into your Google Calendar or your Outlook calendar. Here's the assignment workbook, so you can. Oh, let me let Maria in. Hi, Maria. How is she? Oh, you're on mute.
That's a little bit better now, but still 101 now is the fever.
Oh,
After Tylenol?
Yeah. So the
Mm.
Tylenol only brings it down for like 2 hours. And then it goes back. So I don't know what's going on.
Did they
can
take
you
blood?
They did swabs. So they did like
No.
strep because her throat was a little red. She doesn't have strep. They did, COVID, RSV, flu.
Yeah. Well, hopefully she feels better.
So she looks much better now. Than this morning, she looked really like drained.
Aw. Well, I was just going back over the up coach just to kind of give a refresher, hopefully get you guys used to it. So I'll just do that. So when you sign in, this is what you kind of should see. This is the course, which I'll get back to. And then here's all the recordings. So you can see the first class is already there. And there's space for all the classes and the mentoring. And then when you come down here, you have the coaching schedules will be posted under here by Tuesday, by next week. And the course schedule, this is the one that has the link that you can add it to your calendar if you haven't done that yet. And then there's the assignment workbook is linked here. So you can just download it by clicking that. Don't do that yet if you feel like you're going to get overwhelmed because it is a very large assignment workbook because I just put everything into it. I also made it cute. So it has some graphics and stuff in it. So it's 40 some pages, but it's not that there's not 40 some pages of work for you to do. So don't worry about that. And then here's the book to download. And if you have not purchased it yet, that's my affiliate link. If you want to use it through mine, you don't have to, obviously. And then underneath it is a recommended reading schedule. This is just recommended. You just need to be done the reading by our one-on-ones, which is, 3.5 months away. So it's not that big of a deal. But this kind of brings up I have it, sectioned out into like what I feel is most important. So the chapter 1 mindset from parents, and that's the shifts. The great thing about this book is it's really showing us what we have to unlearn or what we have to shift from our growing up and from other things in life to help us with our coaching. And so this is like mindsets that we get from parents that we might have to shift around, and then mindsets that we might have from our coach training. So I think that's important because this coach training is much different than any of the other coach trainings I think that you've had. And so, we develop in our initial coach training, we develop some certain mindsets that we want to make shifts on probably. And then it goes into other things, some more from coaching here as well, but from school, peers, work, managers. So it's just a recommended. You can go in order and you can take your own time doing it. It's just what I recommend. Okay, so that is the announcements, which is under the forum. And then the drive, I just started putting stuff here, but the workbook itself, you could download it from here instead of that link. It doesn't matter. I'm also going to put the core competencies and the ethics and those things out here, which are also in the chapters. So you, again, you have two different places that you can get it. I think the chapters are easier, but from some of the feedback I got from the last one was that they would like to have one place to download everything versus each class. So I'm doing it in both places so that for different learners, they can do what works best for them. And then these are just basically the class schedule. So you could log into UpCoach and just click here to join the call versus from your calendar. That's all that is. And then I don't use the task tab because you have the workbook. I haven't used it yet. If something comes up and maybe I would use it. I don't know, but right now I'm not using it. Okay, and so then here is the course. So we go in here, and by the way, that tells you where you are percentage-wise. If you ever want to see that in the course, and down here it tells you how many lessons and how many are left. Like, so how many you've completed and how many are left. The welcome counts as a lesson. I don't have any idea why, but that's how it works. Okay. So today we're in 2. And we're not doing this yet, but we're going to look at chapter 2. And we're going to look at these 3 documents as well. But the first thing that we're going to do, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Oh, well, anyway, you can go through you can see all the classes, and they all have whatever you need attached to them. The chapter, it has the assignment written in here, but it's also, again, in the workbook. So all your chapters are in here. Okay, so let's, what we're doing today though, first, is we're going to actually observe a coaching session. And then I'm going to go through how, as an, assessor and a mentor coach, what we're looking for, because that is what influenced the material from this course, is to make sure that, I really want to make sure that I'm not just the foundation pieces, like not just like the bare minimum that you need to coach, but like what makes it a robust coaching practice for you, like, your approaches, your what you include in your coaching, how you can be more or be the most transformative for your clients. And so it's based on really what we look for as from an assessor or mentor perspective. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at listen to the recording. Take some notes if you can, just of like anything that you might notice. And then we'll go over the actual feedback form. So let me pull that recording up. Hang on now. Wow, it starts fast. Sorry. Is it not going to let me share my screen? That's interesting. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay. You guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay, now let me know. Can you hear it?
Not yet.
Now it gives me an ad. What in the world? Hello, that is not what I just clicked on. Can you hear it?
No.
Hmm. I don't know why it keeps doing this other stuff and you can hear it, but you can't hear the recording. All right, let me stop sharing and try this again. All right, so I'm gonna do it without sharing my screen and see how that works. Can you hear that? All right, I don't know what's going on. Um, I'm just gonna download it. It's gonna be the easiest way. I don't know why it's, I guess it has a, oh, I didn't do share computer on it. Maybe it's a problem. Oh, I downloaded it anyway. So let's just watch it from there. Sorry, guys. 1 second. Would
It's
open.
okay.
I have several recordings that are on YouTube. I guess I'm gonna have to download them all so this doesn't happen again. Let's see. This works. Oh my goodness.
Could we listen to it?
That's what I'm trying to do.
Oh,
Let's see. I mean, I just downloaded it, so why it's not letting me do it now, I have no idea, but let me try this. Share. Can you hear that?
no.
So what would you like to focus on that would be of value to you?
I really could use some help with my golf game. I think I'd like to focus on that.
And what about your golf game would you like to address?
Well, my consistency, my reactions to poor shots. I think I've been having so many inconsistencies with my golf game. It started like a few rounds ago. I can't seem to get out of this slump. I'm not consistently hitting the ball cleanly, and my play is really just all over the place. I can never string together 2 or 3 good games at a time, and it's really frustrating. It's just one good game, a couple of bad games, a couple of bad games, and then like one good game. There's just no consistency there. Sometimes I shoot great scores. Sometimes I shoot bad scores. It's really beginning to bother me. I just want some help with regard to like what's going on with my game and trying to bring some consistency to figure out ways to handle my bad shots like in a better way. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And so what specific goal would you like to achieve by the end of today's session?
Well, I think really kind of get some clarity, gain some clarity about what's getting in the way of my game, and maybe learn some strategies that I can try on and implement, to better manage, like the negative emotions that arise, so I can maintain like just some semblance of consistency in my game. Help me from preventing mistakes from taking me further away from the game. I just want to learn some ways I can continue to enjoy playing, regardless of how the round is going or how high my score is. Shooting a bad round shouldn't affect me wanting to go out.
Okay, and how will we know you've accomplished what you set out to by the end of today's call?
Well, hopefully, what we come up with, some ideas that I can grasp some tangible results, or some things that I could count on when I'm in those moments when my game is like going down the rabbit hole. I think it's just important to know that there's something that I could do, whatever it may be, that will bring me back to focus and bring me back to having fun and just shooting good shots, at the same time. Just want some consistency.
And why is playing consistently important for you?
Well, shooting lower scores for one. I'm not out there to just lose all the time. Not making a fool out of myself out there. I played in some tournaments with some partners. It's good to know that they can count on me. It'd be really good to know that they can count on me. So just making sure I'm consistent, being able to bring, this person and know that this person is going to show up consistently. Once I hit a poor shot, it's like a spiral. It goes down fast. I start playing poorly, my confidence gets shaken, and then I start to think, I freaking suck at golf. My friends have noticed how I'm reacting, and that's, they've been hesitant to invite me out, to be honest, not only because of my poor play lately, but just because of my reactions. I'm just not really fun to play with right now.
And that makes sense. You want to play better and more consistently. And so what I'm hearing is that not only does the inconsistency impact your play and your enjoyment of the game, but also your relationships. Sounds like it's like a domino effect, like where once one domino falls, the others fall quickly. So what comes up for you when I say that?
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. I think that's it. I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like a rabbit hole, when I'm down that rabbit hole, I fall fast and it's hard to come back. That just doesn't seem to be a way that's easy way to get out of it, get back to playing good golf.
Okay, so how are you currently feeling and reacting when you're down this rabbit hole that might, be affecting your consistency?
Yeah, when I'm down that rabbit hole, it's like not hitting good shots. Like I mentioned earlier, I hit one good shot and then a string of bad shots. It can seem I can seem to string together a series of good shots. I start feeling the pressure, and that makes me feel worse because I'm pressing. I start like dwelling on my bad shots. I notice I become tense, frustrated, like angry, and I'm cursing. So I know I'm really beating myself up. Telling myself mean things. I tell myself I suck. It's not worthy. I'm not worthy to be out there. I'm just not having fun lately, and it shows through my reactions. I'm not fun to play with right now. I'll own it. It's just the state of mind that I'm in. So my friends have noticed it too. I just don't know how I'm showing up out there and why I'm showing up there in a bad space.
Okay, it sounds like that you're having a lot of thoughts and emotions going on at the same time. I mean, so it's no wonder that you're losing focus and playing inconsistently. So how do you think focusing on all of these other thoughts and emotions may affect your ability to play consistently?
Yeah, if I hit a bad shot, basically all those things you just mentioned go off in my head. I find it hard to move past it. It's I start reacting emotionally, like throwing my clubs, beating myself up, and yelling at myself aloud. It's just berating myself in public's not a good thing. So it's just taking me totally out of my game. That's when I start to lose focus, and that's where I think the inconsistency comes in. So not only am I shooting high scores, my reactions to poor shots strain my relationship with my golf buddies. So yeah, I'm just trying to figure out myself right now. I'm not really bringing much of my full self, my true self, to the game when I'm not doing well. I just kind of suck to be around.
How would it feel to figure out a way to bring more of your true self forward?
Hmm. I feel it would feel good to show up as my true self. I think the way I've been reacting and behaving lately is not really who I am. I'm a really, really easygoing guy. I'm a happy person. Uh, I wouldn't be letting a string of negative shots affect me so much. I'd feel good, calm, like cool, calm, and collected. I would be joking around, having fun with my buddies. Yeah, I'd just be having fun. I'd like to show up like that more consistently.
What do you believe the first thing we should address to move you closer to being more consistent and showing up as your true self out there when you're on the golf course?
Well, yeah, just not to put pressure on myself. When I feel a lot of pressure, I lose focus really quickly. I think the pressure causes me to lose focus and causes me to play really inconsistently. Then I start to notice I'm like dwelling on bad shots. I'm like asking myself, like what are you doing? Like I don't feel I belong out there. My game really, really unravels pretty quickly after that. So concentration and focus is like super important. I think that's where I'm lacking. When I lose focus, I feel like pressure to shoot better, and I start to play really poorly, and I don't like how I'm reacting. You know, like I mentioned before, when I can't hit several good shots in a row, I feel disappointed, frustrated, angry. Um, yeah, my golf game just goes right out the window when that happens.
So why do you think you put so much pressure on yourself?
I'm a competitor. You know, I want to hit the fairways and greens and sink my putts, maybe get some birdies. You know, I just want to, you know, I don't want to look bad out there. I want to shoot low scores. I want to have fun and shoot low scores and keep up with my friends. That's just who I am. Um, and to be honest, they're pretty serious players. So I think I feel pressure to play well to keep up with them. It's more fun when I play well.
So how do you think this pressure might take away from the fun?
Well, when I start to feel pressure, I start hitting poor shots, especially a few in a row. I think I get in my own head and it takes me out of my game. I start comparing myself to my friends and other golfers. I start wondering, you know, what they may be thinking about how I'm playing. I'm not concentrating on my swing and the approach, you know. That's where I think focus and concentration can help me with like playing more consistently. Um, like I mentioned earlier, it's a rabbit hole I go down. It's I'm like yelling at myself, acting out on the course. I'm really embarrassed by my scores and how I'm acting. You know, if things aren't going as well as planned, I'd like to be able to show up as who I really am out there consistently. So yeah, I think if there are some ways like a plan to help me with like the mental aspects of the game, you know, to help me, I think I can play a lot more consistently. You know, feel less pressure, um, and be able to really show who I am out there as a person.
Okay, suppose you leave here today with that plan. How do you think that would feel for you?
Um, hmm, I think it feel great. I mean, to be honest, I would feel relief there is something I can do to shift and keep myself from going down that rabbit hole. Yeah, I definitely feel hopeful about having a plan that can help me play and show up just more consistently. Yeah.
I applaud your willingness and to take a look at yourself and try to figure out how to do something differently.
Yeah.
So what comes up for you when I say that all we can control is the preparation, effort, attitude, and our reactions?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. As I think about it, I can see there's quite a bit of things in golf. All I can do is like try to gauge the distance to the hole, like select the right club, you know, focus on my mechanics, and you know, hopefully just prepare for the next shot. You know, of course, in golf, you know, there are a lot of factors: wind, slope, condition of the fairways, greens that are out of my control. Yeah, I can hit a great shot, but if the fairways and greens aren't in good shape, it can't affect even a good shot. You know, it's as I think those are the things I can't control, but could still affect the quality. But those things could still affect the quality of my shots.
Okay, so when you think about those factors that are really in your control, how would that help you feel differently about your game?
Hmm. Well, I mean, if I really think about it, I feel less pressure. I can do it. I can do everything mechanically right, and due to the conditions, the shots may, you know, go awry or falter. There's nothing I can do to control that, really, honestly. So I guess I feel a sort of an acceptance of what happens, whatever the outcome. Yeah.
And what would being an acceptance look like for you?
Good question. I guess that would mean I would be okay with what happens regardless of whether the outcome was what I wanted or not, I guess.
And how does the thought of being in acceptance feel for you?
I feel less pressure and okay with whatever result there is. Now that I'm thinking about it, I wouldn't feel like rattled and angry, upset, or it would. If an outcome wasn't what I wanted, I wouldn't be really that upset. It would really help me move on from that shot and ready to accept the challenge of the next shot, I guess.
So after hearing that, that sounds like that would be put you more in an emotional space. You mentioned seeking. How might being in that acceptance help you with how you react?
Mm. As long as I can say that I did all I could do to hit the best shot, I think I'd be okay with any result. You know, that would help me stay calm, focused, loose, even if I didn't like the shot I hit. I have to admit, I want to hit a good shot. I want to shoot low scores. Um, if that doesn't happen, I, it's fine. I just want to be a better player out there, and I want my people to really enjoy playing with me.
Yeah, so it makes sense that you'd want to see, tangible results in terms of, outcomes like a good shot or low scores.
Uh, yeah.
Are there other aspects of golf, you know, other aspects other than performance that makes golf meaningful for you?
Um, I'm a really technical person. I like the technical aspects of the game. I enjoy like strategizing the approach to the hole, like making sure I choose the right clubs for the conditions. Um, I play on beautiful courses, some having a lot of beautiful views. I love being out there. I'm connecting with friends, networking, and just going out there to have a little fun.
So hearing that, it sounds like you have a genuine passion for the game that goes much, much deeper than how well you're playing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so how might focusing on these other aspects of golf impact how you're feeling and experiencing around, regardless of what's happening?
Well, yeah, I guess I wouldn't be focused on what happened with my shot. I'd be paying attention to the beauty of the course. I'd be feeling grateful to be out playing the game I love. I'd just be out there having fun. I'd be concentrating on my approach, club selection, and I wouldn't be reacting to bad shots.
So when you said that, I'm hearing that shift in focus could really help you with, you know, your reactions and possibly even your concentration. So what comes up for you when I say that?
Yeah, when I think about focusing on the aspects of the game I love, I feel like really a sense of relief, honestly. I feel like I can let go of the pressure. I, yeah, I think I can. Yeah, I can see myself focusing on appreciating the game and feel good about executing good shots, I guess. Yeah, I think this could help with my concentration, my focus, and honestly, the way I've been reacting lately.
So that's sounding like a real powerful shift in perspective. So, how does that shift feel for you?
Hmm. It feels better, honestly. Really, I'm actually excited to try it out.
Yeah, that's great to hear that you're excited. And
Hmm.
so earlier you mentioned about some pretty strong reaction to some unwelcomed outcomes of a shot. So say you hit a shot and the outcome isn't what you hoped.
Hmm.
How might you be able to look at errors in a different way that may not have as much impact?
Hmm. Um, well, I think I would be accepting, have more acceptance. Like I mentioned before, I could take the game less seriously, I guess. Hitting a bad shot or like shooting a higher score isn't the end of the world. There's bigger problems in the world, I guess. I could just focus on like having fun. If I hit a bad shot, maybe I could view it as a challenge. I think, maybe I could reframe it or something. I don't know. A challenge that would try and recover, you know, to save the whole. I could remind myself about things that are in my control, my mechanics, my setup, my approach, those things.
And how do these new thoughts feel for you?
Yeah. Um, I think I can feel confident that I can recover from the errors. I feel a little bit more hopeful for sure. I'm calm, composed. I would be feeling less pressure. I would feel, like being present for the current shot, having fun. I'm staying loose. I just don't want to tighten up. I feel like I'm not getting ahead of myself if I just have more acceptance. I'm just out there. I'd be just out there having fun with my buddies. I think shifting towards these thoughts could really help me stay focused and calm on the course, even if I do hit a bad shot or miss a putt.
Yeah, so those sound like some of the qualities you had mentioned earlier that you had said were closer to your true self when you're out there playing.
Hmm.
So when I say that, how does it resonate for you?
Yeah, I'm looser. Yeah, the lighthearted, relaxed, poised person having fun, like enjoying time with my buddies and not taking myself too seriously is definitely closer to showing up as my true self for sure.
And as you bring up those qualities that are like your true self, how does that feel to be getting closer to that after thinking about, a different way to approach your golf game?
Um, it would feel good to show up more authentically, like we said, the true self. I think I'd feel more connected to having fun. I wouldn't be showing up like feeling pressured and tense like I have been lately on the course. Um, I'm looking forward to like playing in a more relaxed and carefree manner. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I think I could do that.
So what action do you think you might be willing to take to integrate, this new mindset when you're playing golf and be able to carry that mindset through despite what might be happening out there on the course?
Hmm. Yeah, it's going to take some time. I think I had really gotten into some bad habits. I think routine will help. I can commit to a routine before each shot, maybe. Yeah, so I'm into mindfulness. I think I could take some deep breaths, maybe do like a breath awareness meditation or something, to get myself grounded in that moment. It would help me stay calm more focused and composed. I think I can let those other thoughts and emotions pass in that case. I could also see like before I take it, I could just focus on my mechanics and hitting a clean shot. If I notice myself like feeling pressure or stress, I maybe remind myself like I'm out there to have fun. Yeah, and then maybe focus on my breath to maybe calm down in that moment. I guess if I hit a bad shot, I can try and let it go. Um, yeah, I can see bad shots as chances to use my strategy to get myself out of trouble during the hole, I guess.
Yeah, so this sounds like a solid, routine that could help you stay connected to having fun and being in the moment. Yeah, nice work.
Thanks.
And I believe this plan will definitely can help you carry you through challenges as they arise.
Mhm.
So, what do you think the ideal time frame would be to start this?
Well, I'm excited to try this new process. I think I tried like immediately. Yeah, I think the upcoming rounds would be great. I'm excited to try this process and see where it takes me. I think I could start it, during my next round of golf. I think I'm going to call all my friends and see if we can book a tea time next week.
Just okay, so starting ASAP, that just shows how motivated and committed you are, to your new routine.
Mm-hmm.
So as we're getting closer to the end of the call, what degree do you believe we progressed toward the goal you wanted to accomplish?
Yeah, I came in here with the expectation of getting some tangible ways to help me with my golf game and my reactions when I may not be playing as well as I'd like. I think we did come up with some things I can do differently. Thanks, I appreciate that.
I'm glad to be here to help. So to recap, the next round of golf, you're going to implement a routine where you focus on having fun, staying calm and present through use of mindfulness techniques.
Yeah,
So how do you feel about integrating these strategies into the upcoming rounds?
I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Book uh, uh, a tea time and figure it out with my friends, um, and see where this process takes me.
So are there any supports you may need to implement the new approach?
Mm, yeah, I can write down some phrases, like down on a note card, like "have fun," put them in my golf bag when I'm getting my gloves out of my bag, and put it in my golf bag to remind me that. I think I can look at those throughout the round. I think that'd be a good idea to start.
And how would you like to be held accountable to this new approach?
Yeah, I think I could maybe, I'm close with a lot of the guys I go out and golf with. I think I could, involve my golf buddies and so they can, know what I'm trying to do. Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to involve some of them, and they would be comfortable with reminding me to, when I start going off the rails and reverting back to bad habits, to just have that accountability with them. I think that'd be great.
Okay, so it sounds like you'll have some friends to help you see it through.
Yep.
And I just want to applaud, your willingness to look at yourself and courage to make some changes.
Yep. Yeah.
So as we end the call, I'd like to invite you to reflect on some insights we discussed today. So what do you think you learned about yourself?
Uh, First of all, I really love playing golf, but I haven't been happy about my ability to focus and concentrate on my reactions like to bad shots. So I think I've been putting myself under a lot of undue pressure by focusing on my high scores, and I think I can get caught up with how I'm playing. What I may be doing wrong. when things don't go as planned. My emotional reactions take me further away from the game. So I think my inconsistent play is like partly due to allowing things like bad shots to distract me, and when I lose focus, I forget why I'm out there. What I'm out there to do, because I love the game. I love being out there playing with my friends. Just talking about it really helps me feel better about it. If I begin to focus on that, stay grounded, stay mindful about what I'm doing, I think I'll have a better experience of having fun again. I think it will take a lot of practice, but I know I can do it. Yeah, thanks a lot. This has helped.
Sure. And I'm glad we could partner together. So how would you like to end today's call?
I'm good. Just, I would like to maybe schedule another appointment. I feel excited and motivated to go out there and do this routine we talked about. I'm going to like share my goals with my partners because I have some really cool friends. They want me to do better too. So sharing this with them will help me stay consistent, with my routine and, being accountable, I think. I just want to show up as the person that they like to play with instead of that guy that, when you go out there, I'm not as, like responding appropriately. So again, I really thank you for the help.
Yep. No problem. Happy to be here to help, and we could definitely set up another time to talk. I'm here to support you as needed, and we can visit, your progress next time.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. Thank you, man. I really appreciate your help. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, talk to you later.
All right, have a good one. Thanks.
Okay. Initial thoughts after listening to it.
Well, I thought it was just delightful. When I first heard he wanted to talk about his golf game, I kind of questioned, like, can't you think of something else? But very quickly, he, along with his coach, who was very good, was able to uncover that his love of the game and his desire to do well was actually tripping him up badly. And he was very coachable. That was touching. He just made a great coachee.
Yeah. Thank you.
It opened my eyes to like sport coaches, right? Like I would have never thought that like coaching would work in a sports setting till I heard this call. I'm like, oh, this makes perfect sense because it's true, as a parent, well, me as a person who played sports and as a parent who has kids now that play sports, everything that he was saying is a legitimate, like his process for playing the sport correctly. And the fact, sometimes it goes hand in hand. I think sports players are coachable because of the nature of the sport, which is why he was so open sometimes in being coached. But being that he had like certain like anger and pressure towards the game, and he was still open to like getting the action steps done right away for the next tee time when he books it, and coming up with his own clear, concise ways of how to fix the solution that he wanted to, I think was great. I also liked the coachee, the questions he asked too, he would the way he would ask certain questions I didn't think of like asking, right? So for instance, when he said, how does it feel? Restating everything that he had said before about like how angry he was and how he felt the pressure. So he repeated it back to him and said to him, me saying it, well, how does that feel to you now? And then going back into digging deeper into that. I thought it was a very good session. It was interesting because to me it was just about golf, and it just I was like, okay,
Yeah, so this is one of those that I feel actually shows us that we can coach any topic,
yeah,
right? It does not matter what the topic is. People can use coaching and no matter what. And it also, I think, shows us that this particular coach, this is a PCC level. So this is a coach that passed the PCC um, credential. And like you said, Maria, he takes what the client says and that generates his very next question. And the other thing I think is really great about this is there's not a whole lot of movement out of the topic and outcome, right? It's
right.
very direct towards that coaching agreement. And I think sometimes as especially newer coaches that we tend to think about things that are just not really focused in on what we need to talk about. And so this was very clear cut and just kind of flowed really well. I really do love this session. And we have a couple more that we're going to be observing, and they're all kind of um from coaches who learn to get rid of the distractions, right? And really focus in on that coaching agreement. So what I want to do is, well, first thing I want to do is I want to pull back up the model because I want to show you how it really aligns with what we're going to be learning and with this session. Now it's not exact, of course. Every coach brings their own into the session. And again, this framework is just a framework. You can take it and use it to help you get a little bit deeper, but you're going to make it your own. And then also this recording, we didn't hear like the beginning, like when he greeted his client, right? It started right when he got to the coaching agreement. But for us, when we're looking at our sessions, we're looking at, you set the stage, right? You check in from, with the client, how they're feeling today, just kind of getting a feel for, if they're ready for the session. Sometimes it's a good way to say, are you ready for our session today? Now, the thing that I would caution against is if you have a client that's typically a talker and they're one to bring stories that really have no bearing on the current session that they're going to have with you, you might not ask this question. So it's something for you to think about, but you want to know, like, are they ready for today's session, or is there something they need to clear before we get started today? Something like that to get them really focused in. And, shoot, I pulled up the wrong one again. I really need to delete this one. You'll notice that he did not say anything about confidentiality because we're not going to say anything about confidentiality. And actually, I'm going to pull up that other one because I don't want to keep using this one. And that is. Well, actually, we'll do that after break, I guess, because I don't want to make you wait. So let's look at the feedback and then we'll tie it to the model. So I'm going to share the feedback form. So you can see what we're looking for. Which is, I have too many things open on my computer, I think. Where is it? I just had it open. I was looking at it when we were doing the session. Listening to the session. I'll open it again. Okay, here we go. So, this is the feedback forms that we'll use in the classes for basically for giving you feedback. And what it has is, remember I talked about PCC markers. We're using the PCC markers to learn from. And so that's what the feedback will be on, but that's not what you're graded on in the finals. When you're graded on the final, we do adjust it for ACC, and I'll show you how we do that towards the end of the course. But right now we're looking at, these are the specific markers. The coach partners with the client to identify or reconfirm what the client wants to accomplish. Coach partners with the client to define or reconfirm measures of success. The coach inquires about or explores what is important or meaningful to the client. And then the coach partners with the client to define what the client believes they need to address or achieve what they want to accomplish. So this is the coaching agreement, and there's actually 4 parts to it. And if we look at the session, the coach asks, and this isn't verbatim, I was typing as we were going through, but basically asked about what would they like to focus on. And then what would you like to have by the end? Oh. And then asked, how will we know? How will we know we have that accomplished? That is the measure of success. So it is the topic, it is an outcome, but then it's a measurement, which is a third piece. So again, coaching agreement, focus, so topic, what they would like to have at the end, and how will you know that that's been accomplished? So that's the measurement. And then we want to explore the importance or meaning, and it needs to address. So he didn't get to the meaning part till a little bit later, but he did get to it. But he did get to the, what do you believe is the first thing we need to address to be, and he went on. Again, part of the agreement. So we have a topic, we have an outcome, and we have a measurement, but now we want to let the client lead with the direction that we take. So what do you feel about that topic and that outcome is the thing that we really need to focus on first? And so we're allowing the client to lead that, what to address. And then acknowledges talents, insights, and work. There's a lot of times, I think there's about 3 different times, that the coach, let's see, said things like, that sounds like a shift in your perspective. I applaud you. You're making progress. I applaud your progress here. Things like that, which acknowledge the client's journey in the actual coaching session. And then the support or empathy or concern, that's where the coach said things like, well, it sounds like you're such and such. So showing that support for the client, showing that empathy. as well as saying like that's sounding like a shift in perspective. How does that feel for you? That does two things. It shows the support, but it also asks the client an emotional question, explores their emotions. So that goes towards both of those. But we're just looking for, if we're going in order here, we're looking for things that acknowledge talents, insights, and work, things that support, things that acknowledges expressions means that we're using the client's words and the way they express themselves in our questions. And he did that definitely throughout the session. And then invites the client to respond and accept. That's where he was saying things like, where's that one?
He said, what comes up for you when I say that, quite a bit.
Right. Yeah, that I was looking for the exact sentence, but that's where he's checking it in, right? He's saying, okay, so it sounds like such and such. How might that acceptance help with how you react? That's one way. But how does that make you feel? Yeah, and what you said. So there's different ways that what comes up when you said that yada yada yada, I heard a shift. What comes up for you when I say that?
Yeah.
So continually checking in with the client as we're going through. And so that's an invite to respond. So, responding to or coaching the whole person versus the what, those are things that are asking the client about their vision, like what they think, feel, see, don't see. Those are the things that we're looking for there when we say we're coaching the whole, the who of the person. And then coaching the agenda, which is basically looking at what the client wants to accomplish throughout the session. How are we moving the client forward towards that? What action might you be willing to do? What do you think the time frame is? What degree? No, where's the one that I wanted? What do you believe is the first thing that we need to address? So which is the address question. He said it later on, so I'm going to put that up there, but it's also a question on coaching the agenda. Oh, I did put it there. Okay. And then invites client's choice. Well, he did that several times. We already kind of gave some examples of that. And some of these questions, they hit different markers, right? So it's not just one marker for, each question or each section that the client is, or that the coach is bringing up. But they are curious about the client, asking those open-ended questions as well. And then there was a good amount of silence and pause,
Yeah.
right? The coach wasn't like in a hurry to bring the next question.
Yeah.
And then custom language, this is really when the coach is using language based on what he learned about the client so far. And so perspective, feeling, reaction, playing consistently, these are all pieces of language that the client used, and then the coach used them in questions.
Yeah, you said your true self a couple of times. That was nice.
Yeah. So that's important to use the custom language and explore the words. So, what when the client said playing consistently, the coach questioned that. What does that mean for that client? What does it mean for them to play consistently? Excuse me, the client also talked about putting, pressure on themselves, and the coach asked, why do you think you put that pressure on yourself? And then one thing that the coach said, what comes up for you when I say that all we can control is yada yada? So this is where we're doing a couple things here. We're exploring perceptions, beliefs, and assumptions, but we're curious about the client, right? We want to learn more about them, what they think about when we say all we can do is control, what have you. So really powerful questions that this coach asked. And then energy shifts. So the coach says, where did he say it? He says, I noticed a shift. Where did he say that? When you said that, I heard the shift. What comes up for you when I say that? So he said, when you said that, I heard the shift of, and he said what the shift was. What comes up for you when I say that? So we're noticing energy shifts, right? And then we're exploring it with them by saying, well, you know, what comes up for you when I say that? There was one overlap, but basically throughout the conversation, there was no interruptions by the coach. And I think the overlap was actually the client's fault, not the coach's. But either way, it was just one. Definitely summarized. And if you notice when he summarized, he didn't summarize in long, you know, drawn out ways, right? He was very succinct in how he summarized what the client was saying or the meaning that the client gave. So just very, yeah, just very succinct in saying, this is what I heard you say, or really he did most of the reflecting back before he asked him the next question, as far as like, well, I heard such and such, and then he explored more with it with a following question. That's what he did more of anything, but he did definitely summarize. And then, you know, questions about his current way of thinking. He did that throughout the whole conversation, so I'm not going to put any evidence there, but basically we would put evidence for each of these sections that were done. Helps the client see beyond their current thinking or feeling. That's again, that's sounding like a shift in perspective. How does that feel for you? That's looking beyond. Also, say you hit a shot and it's not what you want. How might you look at it so it doesn't have as much of a negative impact? Again, asking him to you know, look beyond the current situation, and look into the future and how will that impact. And it's the same thing for the what. You know, this is talking about negative impact, which is more psychological. So that's kind of the who of the person. But when we're looking at what, it could be more around like what, let's see, what was the question? Like, how do you feel about this is a good one for here. How do you feel about, oh, that should be implementing. Implementing these strategies. Type the next round. So looking at the what. Now that next round, how's that going to feel when you implement those strategies? Definitely ask questions around exploring the beyond their feelings and thinking beyond the current situation. And then the coach shared a couple times some observations, intuitions, comments without any attachment, right? So the question was, his observation was followed with, you know, how does that make you feel? What comes up for you when I say that? You know, so those are the things that when we say without attachment, we're making an observation and then we invite the client to respond with how they feel or think about it. So we're not attached to what we've said. We're just giving an observation and we're asking them to respond. So that we could use that same example that we used earlier When you said that, I heard the shift, and he mentioned what the shift was. What comes up for you when I say that? So we're inviting the client to explore it. All the questions were open-ended. I think there was 2 questions that began with R, but then he finished them out with open-ended. So he started with an R question, but the end of the question wound up being open-ended. And 1 or 2 closed-ended questions is not a big deal. It just depends on what you're doing with that question. Use concise language. His language was very clear. His questions were very clear. His tone, his flow, all very clear. Client definitely talked more than the coach. And that was because the coach really made those questions, made it easy to do with the questions that he was asking, made it easier for the client to really think about their answers and kind of verbalize those answers. And then the 8, 8 is just exploring their growth. So, throughout they were talking about kind of the mindfulness part of the actions. But then there was sections where, he came straight out and kind of said, what action do you think you might be willing to do? That kind of, that is post-session activities. And he asked him, well, what degree do you think we progress towards the goal? So we're asking him to explore progress. And then new learning. He asked, what do you think you learned about yourself in today's session? And that's kind of the who. And then this one is a meh one, but how do you feel about, oh, I said that again, the implementing these strategies, the next round. Again, kind of new learning on the what, that next round. And then resources or barriers. So the coach asked any support you might need, which is kind of the same thing as asking any resources that you might need. Now, in my opinion, I would have asked an obstacle question because it was around a lot of mindset. And so I would have said something like, what could potentially get in the way, or what kind of mindset issues could come up that might, prevent you from following through on this. But this is a way to do it as well. And then the accountability piece. How would you like to be held accountable for this new approach? And then partners to close. This is an important part of the call, just basically saying, how would you like to close the session? Or how would you like to end today's session? And then the champion or celebrating. We had that beginning, then we had that one earlier, and then I think there was another one.
Yeah, there
Oh, maybe
was.
not.
No, I think there
was.
was.
It was all the way at the end when he was applauding him at the end of the call, right before he said, what do you think you learned about yourself? I just didn't write the whole thing down.
Yeah. I think it, yeah. Oh, I applaud. That's what he said. Yeah.
I want to applaud your courage, your openness.
Yeah.
And also, there was an invitation to reflect.
Yeah. I invite you to reflect. That's exactly what he said. And so that could be applying new learning. I invite you to reflect. So again, he hit a lot of these. And actually, if I was really doing this, like during a coaching session for you guys, I would just mark if it was done, if it was somewhat done, or if it wasn't done at all. Okay, so I do love that session. It's
It's
just, I
great.
think it's a good session to kind of start off you guys saying this is what we're aiming for, right? Okay, so we're gonna take a quick break. It's 2:35. So let's take 10 minutes and then we're gonna come back and go over chapter 2. Okay? 2:35, be back 2:45. Okay. Marie, are you, can you hear us?
I'm back.
All right. So today we're talking about ethics. And well, I can't share both, but at the same time, but for some reason, I hate that Zoom doesn't allow us to do that anymore. But I'll show you after that in the upcoach under lesson 2, there's the ICF code of ethics, and there's some other things that I'm going to be going over with you. How to refer people out, and different situations that they look for. So you can download those and look at them at your convenience, but I'm just going to kind of do the highlights. But basically today, we're talking about how the ICF Code of Ethics guide us in our coaching, and also how it guides us in other areas, which it's connected to, which is DE&I and emotional intelligence. So the ICF Code of Ethics, they're not just a set of rules to follow, but they really are a way for us to be committed to acting with integrity with our clients, to honor confidentiality when it's appropriate, and to prioritize the welfare of our clients. And basically, the ICF put it together to uphold the integrity of the ICF and global coaching profession, and it keeps us accountable, right, as coaches, and it also gives recourse for those people that aren't. There's plenty of coaches out there that are not ethical. And so it gives us recourse when things are going on. And we don't want people, kind of the bad apples out there to make our profession look bad. And so we look at these ethics as a way to help our industry stay in a positive light, and also to stay helping people, because that's what people get into coaching to help people. So, um, so it's not just looking at individual coaches, it's looking at the whole of coaches. And when we're able to do these things like uphold these standards, and we're committed to integrity, and we honor the clients and prioritize their welfare, then we're also able to follow through with being ethical in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's where we're going to look at it. We're going to look at DE&I through the lens of emotional intelligence. And again, we're going to be learning about emotional intelligence throughout the course. But basically, in coaching, DE&I is important because it ensures that we approach our clients with an awareness and appreciation of their background, right? So it might be different than our background. It might be something we don't understand, excuse me, or even relate to on a on a deep level. But if we have high emotional intelligence, or we work towards increasing our emotional intelligence, then we're able to, with that empathy is a big part of emotional intelligence, and a big part of coaching. It allows us to be more inclusive with being empathetic, with trying to understand where other people are coming from. It allows us to be respectful and supportive, but also to have, again, get that deeper understanding, or try to get that deeper understanding, and be open to that deeper understanding between coach and client. And that's really important for ethical coaching. If we don't have that rapport, that empathy, that effective communication, all the things that flow from empathy and relationships, then it's going to be tough to coach. It's going to be tough to be a good coach. And plus in today's world, there's so much diversity now, right? So much more than when any of us started, right? There's just so much, so many things that we have to be mindful of. I was going to say careful, but I want to say mindful instead of careful. We have to be mindful how we approach people. Just things like pronouns, right? Some people are like, oh, I've just heard some coaches gripe about having to understand pronouns and or how to use them or how not to use them or how not to insult people. But you're a coach. You're here to help people. And how can you do that if you have these bias against people or against how people use their pronouns or how people describe themselves or think of themselves? Like that's their business, right? They're able to think of themselves their way. And I don't get into religion, but some people bring up religion. Well, that's up to the higher power. It's not up to you to be that judge, right? So as coaches, we don't want to be judgmental in any way, shape, or form. And so that is also included when we look at DE&I, emotional intelligence, and ethics. And if we're not able to do that or if we're not in a place right now where we're able to do it, then we need to do something to improve it. And so that's when we look at ethics, it's basically saying, this is really where you need to be. And if you're not here yet, how do you get here? And emotional intelligence can help us do that. Especially when we look at it through the lens of DE&I. So we need to approach each client thinking about what is their background, how do they relate to things, how do they not relate to things, and that could be something simple like if you think about we look at people and we say, okay, do they learn better visually or do they process things better visually or orally or whatever? It's kind of the same thing. Like that's a lens, right? We are trying to help them or we're trying to figure out how do they see things? What's their lens? How do they improve? How do they learn? How do they see things? It's the same thing when you look at, DE&I, like what is the lens that client comes to us with? And so it's important for us to look at that. When we look at DE&I through emotional intelligence, it just means that we're using our ability to understand and manage our own emotions and those around us to help guide how we behave and make decisions with clients. And in the context of DE&I, it also is about being aware of our own bias. And everybody has bias. And I mean, I like to say that I don't think I have a whole lot of bias, but I feel like I'm very accepting of most things, but I know that there's some in there. Like, everybody has bias. And so it's really important to become aware of what are our own bias and what do we have to do to overcome it. Because our bias is what, even if it's not conscious, it's what drives our decisions and drives our behavior. So making sure that we're aware of our own bias and doing things to overcome the areas that need to be overcome so that we're able to treat people with all kinds of backgrounds with it doesn't matter. Like we're not going to pick and choose. We're going to treat everybody with empathy and we're going to adjust how we interact with people to make sure that it's inclusive and equitable. And really that comes down to active listening, being aware of different cultural and emotional expressions and responding with sensitivity and respect, of course, above all. So just kind of a quick question. What are, if you're aware of them, what are some biases that you have that you might think you have to, adjust or overcome? And you can write this in here in your chapters. You don't have to say it now, but if you have an idea of a bias that you have, you can share it as well. But just really thinking about what are the bias that I have and how can I overcome them? What do I have to do to make sure that happens? And so that I can be more inclusive in my coaching and be more empathetic and equitable. And then when we kind of have an idea of that, the bias that we have, we look at DE&I, we look at emotional intelligence. Now we can look at our ethics through those lens and say, okay, how do these ethics now apply to me now that I'm looking at increasing my emotional intelligence, that I'm trying to be diversive, that I'm trying to be equitable, and that I'm looking to be empathetic and accepting of all people. So when we look at it that way, it brings the ethic, to me anyway, it brings a different view to the ethics. It's not just, you know, looking at these rules and saying, these are the rules that I have to follow. Okay. So a couple things to note. Again, I'm not going to read through the ethics. You can read through that on your own. But you know, confidentiality and privacy. We have to be able to create a safe space for clients to open up and explore. That means that any information in the session is protected and not disclosed without specific permission or the caveats to confidentiality, which is, you know, harming themselves or harming someone else if it's court ordered. Or well, I'm going to give you some other examples, but how can you uphold confidentiality in cases where, you know, like for instance, you're taking notes? Well, your notes have to be secure if you're going to take notes, and you can use a system like a platform, something like Coach's Console, which has a section for you to upload notes. Things like Paperbell and Coach Pony, and like there's a ton of them. They all have a section for keeping notes. And so as long as you have to log into that before you can access it, then you've secured the client's notes. If you're going to be talking about clients' information in case studies, you want to make sure that you are changing names, even where they live. Like you want to change all identifying information. And then any communication that you have through email or video calls, coaching apps, or whatever is done on those secure platforms. So like I said, you're able to log into things and log out. And so people don't have access to your systems. And then legal exceptions, understanding when we are actually required to break confidentiality. And when maybe it's even iffy, like, do I break confidentiality here? If there's a question, it usually means that there's something there to explore to see if we need to break confidentiality. And this is something that we're always going to talk about clients in the very first consult that we have. Before you ever take a client on, you need to make sure that you've gone through all the requirements of releasing confidential information. The other thing is like looking at conflicts of interest. We don't want to hire people or have clients hire us when there might be a conflict of interest, or if one develops over time as you're working with somebody. And I'll give you an example. I was coaching someone, a woman, and I was dating this guy. I was doing in-person coaching, so we lived in not really the same neighborhood, but the same area. And she wound up dating the same guy. And so that was definitely a conflict of interest. And so I just, rather than get into anything, I just broke the engagement with her, the coaching engagement, and of course stopped dating him as well. But but the point is that was a conflict of interest, and I wasn't even going to try and resolve that. That was just like, oh, okay, boom, gone. Right. So there's some things where once you identify a conflict of interest, you're just going to end it and just be done with it. And don't even get involved, because it could potentially, you know, wind up being something bigger. You don't want that. Sometimes it might be something small and you're able to say something, you know, have a discussion and clear it with the client. That's fine as well, as long as it's cleared with the client and the other source or person or whatever where the conflict is coming up with. You might be able to do that. It's just about being, you know, transparent and having these discussions. And that it does not impact your coaching. So if it's that's really the thing you have to think about first. Like, is it going to influence the way I coach this person? And if the answer is yes, then there's a conflict there and you need to resolve it. If the answer is no, then you say, okay, how's it going to impact that other person, this information or this situation? So first check with you, is it going to, you know, impact how I coach? If that's no, then check with the other person. Is it going to impact how they respond to coaching, or, you know, how they respond to situations? If that's a yes, then typically that means you're going to you have to end the coaching relationship. If it's no, then you're having that conversation, you're clearing everything, that's fine as well. And basically you want to make sure you're establishing clear boundaries and agreements on how to handle it. Here's another example. If a coach offers a financial incentive to refer clients to a particular service, they must disclose this to the client and may decide to refrain from making such referrals to maintain impartiality, depending on the situation. Or a coach who's an investor in a company may face a conflict if coaching an executive of that company could affect the coach's financial interests. That's a big conflict right there, right? Anything to do with money, you want to be careful of, because that can bring about such strong reactions from people and outcomes. What else? Being able to look at power dynamics in a coaching relationship. So sometimes there's different ways that power dynamics can come into play. Sometimes it's around age, sometimes it's around gender or race or economic status or your own expertise or authority. We don't want to have a power status in our coaching relationships, right? We don't want anybody to see us as above them. We are equal in our coaching. And so the example I gave here for age dynamics is a younger coach working with a significantly older coach may find the client defers too much to the coach's suggestions. Like they can't take that and examine it and, impartially. Because they may have been ingrained with respect your elders or whatever, the people that are more experienced than you or whatever the situation is. So you have to look at their culture. That's part of the DE&I, right? We're looking at what culture are they coming from, and let's try right from the beginning to, squash any kind of power plays that might be in there or any kind of power dynamics that might be in there. Expertise and authority, same thing. A coach with extensive experience might dominate a session when coaching someone in that field. That's usually when a coach is making more suggestions, right? We don't want to make suggestions. We can make observations, but we don't want to make more observations where we're actually sharing information or sharing expertise, kind of covering it over with observations. We have to be careful of that as well. And so there are some ways that you can kind of correct some imbalances. You can have, first of all, have a really open discussion about it. That's the one of the best ways to start. But in this example, I say a coach recognizes that sessions are held in their own office, which may seem authoritative to somebody. And so to correct that, the coach might offer a session in a neutral space or even a place where the client feels more empowered. And that's why a lot of coaches do things like have coaching sessions in, one of my coaches does it in the park. Another of my coaches will do things like Panera Bread or Starbucks or whatever, right? They just find a neutral place to have their sessions. So other ways you can correct imbalances is you can foster an environment of open communication where the client feels free to voice any concerns. You do that right from the beginning. If you just say it, it's the easiest way to do it. You just say, I would like you to tell me if you ever feel uncomfortable or if you ever want to voice any concerns. I'm open to hearing it. You just tell them straight out in the beginning. That's going to work. People are going to feel empowered when you do that. You can encourage collaborative goal setting to ensure that the client maintains control over their coaching journey. So that's when you look at the beginning of the coaching engagement itself, and you can help the client come up with a coaching plan, right? And I love using coaching plans because it puts it back onto the client to determine what are we going to focus in on? What are the main goals throughout this whole engagement? Whether it's a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever your coaching engagement is, help them write out a plan. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't change it, right? We're not going to impose any limitations, but this helps the client, first of all, to be really focused on what are they spending their time and their energy and their money on with you? Like, what are the outcomes that they're looking for? And so you set those goals, and then that puts them in the lead, right? That empowers them and can correct some imbalances. And then regularly kind of reassess where you are with clients. Always asking for feedback or being open to adjustments. And that's a check-in that you do. I will say that for when, especially when I'm doing recovery coaching on Recovery Nation, is that they have we have an automated form that goes out to the clients halfway through the coaching engagement that asks them 5 questions that helps them to kind of assess where are we? Are we moving in the direction that you want to move in, like the ones that we determined at the beginning of our in your coaching relationship? Do you feel like, the successes that you have, what are the successes you feel you've had? What are things that you feel have slipped through the cracks? And so this is a check-in with them and helps them to know that, again, they're in control. And that's what we want to do, is we want to make sure that they know that they're empowered, they're in control, and we are not the authority in this relationship. Okay. So some things that you might consider, I'm going to just do one of these. So the client confides that they're contemplating leaving their current job because they feel undervalued and have secretly received an offer from a competitor. How might you handle this? Would you acknowledge the information and promise to keep it confidential, then proceed to coach the client on evaluating their career options without directing them toward a decision? Would you advise the client to take the new job offer and assuring that they will assuring them that they'll be able to keep the offer a secret, or the coach tells the client that they will need to inform the current employer due to a personal connection with the company? Which would you choose there? A, B, or C?
I would think A.
Yeah, we would acknowledge the information they gave us. Of course, it's confidential, and then coach them on. We're assuming they're bringing it up because they're evaluating whether or not they need to make that move. So helping them to come up with their decision. I'll do the second one too. So a coach who specializes in personal branding is working with a client who wants to improve their online presence. The coach also runs a side business that creates and sells website designs. And I bring this up because I do that, right? I have a side business of marketing that works with my business coaching. And so this is a situation that I've come up against. So how might you handle the situation when a client asks for recommendations on improving their website? The coach recommends their own web services without disclosing that it's their business, seeing it as a win-win. The coach informs the client about their own business and provides several other recommendations, ensuring the client can make an informed decision. The coach declines to provide any recommendations, citing it is outside the scope of their coaching practice.
I would go with B as well, so they can make an informed decision.
Yeah. So you could do B, but you could also do C,
Oh, okay.
because that's outside of coaching. So you don't have to bring anything up. But now, if you're a coach and you have that side business, your tendency is going to be to bring up that side business, right? So I tend to say I do have a marketing business if you're interested in seeing the websites that we've done, but also I have a ton of recommendations for people that do websites, and I drop it. I don't go any further with it. So they can either follow up with me later after our coaching, or they can ask me for the other names, or they can ask me about my business or whatever, right? So that's what I tend to do there. But again, just deciding to not to provide any recommendations and just saying it's outside of their scope of their coaching practice is probably the most ethical, like the above board most ethical. I don't think B is unethical, but I think C is the more ethical decision. Well, we might as well do the third one. During a coaching session, your client, who is a young entrepreneur, constantly seeks your approval before making any decisions, indicating a possible power imbalance. So how should you address it? You either A, acknowledge their need for validation, but encourage them to trust their own judgment and decision-making process. B, reassure them that seeking approval is a natural part of the coaching process and continue as usual. C, take charge and make decisions for them, asserting your role as a coach. D, end the coaching relationship as it seems the client is not ready to be coached.
That's a tough one. I would go with A, I guess.
Yeah, it's A. Just kind of acknowledging, just saying I can understand why you might need some encouragement in that area, or whatever the situation is. But really, what's best for yourself, and you can make that decision yourself. We could work through it in our session if you'd like. It could be part of a coaching session, but we want to put it back to them, back on them. That empowers them, and it takes it balances the power imbalance that might be there. Okay, and then we have responsibility to practice and performance, and this just is where we maintain a high standard of professional conduct. And this means that this goes a lot towards ethics, but also towards the second core competency, where we're continually, looking to develop ourselves, that we're ensuring that our coaching skills remain sharp and up to date. And then also making sure that we are following the coaching agreement at all times, establishing clear mutual expectations with clients for a successful coaching relationship. So we want to make sure that we're committed to maintaining high standards, that we participate in that ongoing personal and professional development, and that we're setting clear agreements and managing expectations with clients. Just something for you to reflect on. How can a coach ensure their personal development aligns with evolving needs of their clients in the coaching industry? And I would say that this course is one of the ways that you're doing that, right? You're getting refreshed on what the new core competencies are. You're getting refreshed on the coaching process. It's a little bit different than what you learned before, but you're expanding, right? You're moving forward. And then you're both looking for either renewing or getting a new credential. So again, you're looking for forward movement. And then responsibility to professionalism. So basically that, we look at our behavior, our integrity, and the image that we present in our coaching sessions and outside of our coaching sessions, in our communities as well. This is important. Being a coach really permeates all areas of life, right? It's not just when we're working with clients on Zoom. It's when we're in our communities and how we deal with other people as well. And I would liken it to Julie. You're a pastor. It's the same thing. You're not just a pastor in the church, right? When you're giving a sermon, like, it's where you interact with people anywhere. It's the same thing as a coach. It's like how we interact with people in general in our communities. Yes, with our clients, but in our communities as well, and in just dealing with humanity, with humans. And then responsibility to society. That's where, again, kind of looking at how do our ethics impact the broader scope of coaching. And that's looking at we as coaching as a whole in the world, right? Like, we all, and this is how I feel anyway, I feel like we all represent something really powerful that can be used for so much good in life. And the more that we work towards that, and the more that we uphold that integrity and those ethics, the stronger that industry becomes, and the stronger we all become because of it as coaches. So that's my kind of thing. So strive to make coaching accessible to diverse populations. That's a big part of what the ICF does, right? They want to make it accessible to everyone. Using coaching to empower individuals to make positive contributions to their own communities, and respect social differences and work towards inclusivity in all coaching practices. And then a reflection: what role do coaches play in promoting social responsibility, and how can coaching contribute to social change? And then when to refer out. So best practices for referring out. We're going to look through the ethical considerations and then kind of helping to identify when client situations are kind of outside the scope of coaching. And the reason why we want to really recognize it and act on it as soon as possible is because early intervention can positively impact a client's mental health, physical health, whatever it is, but a lot of the time it's the mental health. So if you kind of think of interventions, right? When you help people with different types of interventions, mental health intervention as soon as possible brings about the best outcomes. So as coaches, it's important that we understand the scope of coaching responsibilities. We have to have a clear understanding of our professional boundaries and limitations. And that's basically looking at therapy, psychotherapy, counseling, advising, consulting, and mentoring. When we are in coaching roles, we don't want to do these. We don't want to step over into these roles. Now, if you have these roles outside of coaching, that's fine. You just need to keep them separate and you don't intermingle them. Some things to look at for red flags, learning to identify signs where your client might need support, outside of coaching. Some examples are like you're seeing changes in mood, excessive feelings of worry, nervousness, ruminating thoughts, constantly feeling on edge, sleep disturbances, isolating themselves, racing thoughts, feeling hopeless, changes in eating patterns, suicidal thoughts or ideations. Those are just kind of the main ones. And those other two resources that I told you about, again, that I'm going to show you where they are, go into this in a lot of detail. Having a referral network can be beneficial. You obviously don't have to have one, but if you're able to refer people to other professionals, it makes it easier for the client to then get help. Now you have to be careful of that. You don't want to just refer to one other individual. So I'll give you an example, Recovery Nation, because we deal with addiction, we have a wide network of psychologists, psychiatrists, and therapists that we refer to. And what we do is we list out agencies. So they can, and we say to them, here's an agency that has some psychologist, or here's one that has some therapist, depending on what they need or what they feel they need. And we have those websites there for them to contact and do their own research. So we have that referral network so that they don't feel stuck in like, where do I go? What do I look? How do I look for these people? We say, here's some really good resources. And they have some really good reviews. We only take people that, we only list people that have really good reviews. But it's up to them to make that decision, where to go. Because what can happen is if you give them a specific person to go to and they don't explore other options and that doesn't work out, they could hold you responsible. How much it would hold up in a law, I don't know, a court of law, I don't know, but that's not the point, right? The point is now we've put ourselves in a position. We don't want to put ourselves in that position to where somebody can come back to us and say, well, that didn't work out. That person wasn't good, or that person insulted me, or God forbid something happened to that person and a family member comes back to you or something. Like, we don't want to do that, right? We don't want to put ourselves in those positions. You always want to communicate with the client, so remain calm and positive. Be specific about your concerns or give examples when something comes up. Ask those open-ended questions. Stay in your role as a coach to promote awareness. Yes, you might have to refer out and step outside the role of the coach, but the more you can do from a coaching perspective, the better the client is going to understand and get some awareness about what they have to do. Manage the referral process, so discuss it with the client, how the referral will be handled, respect their decision to follow through or not. If they're not in danger and they don't want to go to a therapist, they don't have to. Like, you're not their boss. They don't have to. But you wouldn't continue to coach them, right? You would have to say, we can't continue the coaching relationship because this, whatever this is, interferes with coaching, and that needs to be taken care of first. Then they can incorporate coaching. If they're in danger, then of course, you have to take action. If they agree to go ahead with the referral, then again, assist them with the transition by giving them some ways to, to contact other people. Sometimes, I've gone as far as, I think she was 19 or something, but she was pretty young and didn't really know where to go. And I was like, well, let's go to your insurance's website. Like, I just walked her through, go to your website, look for, you can look for therapists in your area. And I think I showed her psychology.com as well. Put your zip code in, put your insurance in, and it gives you some referrals. Like, you can do things like that if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that. And then and then knowing when immediate intervention is needed. So danger of harming themselves, harming others, extreme mental distress, and extreme physical distress. So even if they don't mention harming themselves, but if they're sitting there in a whole lot of pain because, I don't know, maybe they hurt themselves, they fell or something, and they're not doing anything about it, you need to help them make that decision to go get help, right? And then if they don't make that decision, then you have to take action. So it's not always just about harming themselves or harming others. Sometimes it's if they don't do anything, something bad could happen. And so you want to help them to make that decision.
So, sure. Like, I have a question. So for me, my audience would be like mothers, right, who just given birth. So like postpartum depression is like very big in that area. So I guess if I was to notice things like that, where I see that there is depression that's about to start, then I would have to also do the same thing, right? With like referring out, pretty much doing the same thing
Yep.
you said before, like what insurance do they have, and then going from there. I've always been stuck on that, like when I should be able to, like if
Sorry,
it's
one second.
okay for me to step in and say, hey, you definitely need to go see a therapist or a psychologist to kind of help you. Because I do know sometimes a lot of them do get medication because it's hard.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm always like stuck with that, like referring out process. Not that I'm scared of it. It just makes me nervous. I'm like, I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing.
I don't know why I'm echoing, so I'm gonna.
You're doubling up. You're on two screens. Oh, can't hear.
Oh, now you can. Yeah, so I'm gonna disconnect from this one.
Such a pretty picture, though.
There we go. Okay. Yeah. So Maria, it can be nerve-wracking, right? But really, again, use your coaching skills and ask questions like, what happens if you don't, if you continue this way? How well are you able to take care of your, the newborn in this state, that you're in? Or again, just kind of finding those open-ended questions that you can ask to help bring awareness to why they have to take action.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
All right. And then there's two scenarios in here, which you can kind of look through because we're almost at the end of the class. But the other, I want to show you the other two documents, and actually it might even help you a little bit more, Maria, if you read those other two documents. So the one is called referring a client to therapy. And then the last one there is client referral. And I will show you this. Let's see.
You can't see your screen share.
Oh. I do that on my tablet. I don't really know how to do that on my tablet, I don't think. Our screen used to be here. Why don't I have a share screen on my tablet? No. That's not what I want. No. Well, I'm gonna try it this way. Here, if the other screen dies, it won't.
Is this available on our course on UpCoach? I think you're muted if you're talking.
Yeah, if you scroll down under chapter 2, there's 3 documents you can download. This is one of them.
Okay.
Oh, I see. There we go. So this one is really in depth and it's 22 pages long.
Well,
I mean, if you have time, you can read through it. But it does go into a lot of different situations that are helpful. But this one is the one I think is really helpful. You can print this out, you can keep this, relatively close on a wall or a board or whatever. And it gives you the gist of it, really. Okay.
yeah, that's handy.
Okay. Any questions from today?
No questions, but it's very informative.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, awesome. So, for next Tuesday, you actually don't need to do anything because that's our first mentoring class. Next Thursday, you'll read chapter 3 and yeah, you'll read chapter 3 for Thursday, but Tuesday it's our mentoring time, so we're going to actually watch another coaching session, and we're really going to go in depth into the first 3 core competencies and the markers and the minimum skill requirements for those.
Nice.
Okay. All right. So thank you guys so much. I really like this class. I liked listening to the recording and I liked going through the, your questions and going through the feedback. So have a wonderful rest of your week and weekend, and I'll see you guys back here next Tuesday.
Yeah,
Thank
have
you.
a Memorial Day.
You too.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Have a wonderful Memorial Day.
Thank
See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.